Bleach, Thousand-Year Blood War, Part 2, Episode 2. At the Silburn, Jugram Hashwolf sits at the head of the table with the other Sternritters. One of them, Robert Acutron, asked why they had to defeat the captains with their stolen Bankai. Of course, they believed the regular Soldats, these guys, could handle those weakened shinigami. But Hashwolf had a different idea. He states Yhwach predicted the captains would train to fight without their Bankai, but they can still be struck down with their Zanpakutos and have their hopes crushed. The other Sternritters agreed it's a disturbing but fun plan. Again, Hashwolf repeats Yhwach's order to eliminate the enemy instantly. Outside the entrapped Serite, the members of the 13th Division alarmingly call out to their captain, Jeshiro Yukitake, as he sits shirtless in a strange temple. Inside, Captain Commander Shunsui and his assistant, Nanao, are surprised that they lost their advantage despite setting traps for an unexpected invasion. Sitting on a throne, Yhwach spilled the bean to Yuryu Ishida about how the Quincy survived annihilation over 1,000 years ago. He explained how Quincy had nowhere else to run, so they hid right under the nose of the Soul Reapers and made a secret city, the Wandenrake. Meanwhile, in the R&D section, another Sternritter, Askin, reveals how easy it was for the Quincy to hide in the Soul Society because of the abundance of Racier, their source of power. So the Quincy grew stronger in the shadows for a very long time. Back at the Squad 1 office, Hashwolf tells Shunsui and Nanao that the Wandenrake was easy to appear because they had always hidden in the shadows. The two men introduced themselves and their titles. Shunsui asked Hashwolf if they already knew he became the new captain and if it was the reason they attack again this fast. Hashwolf admitted this and further mentioned Yhwach believed in peace as shorter battles were better and ordered that their enemies be defeated quickly. Meanwhile, at the 12th Division, the technician wondered how Askin got there, but he reminded them that he had always been there. He questioned their intelligence, but out of nowhere, Captain Mayuri Kuratsuchi confirmed what Askin said. The Sternritter stood there, surprised, as a magical door appeared in the air. Suddenly, Mayuri's face popped out of the door, shining with bright light. He stated that he's always figured that the Quincy were hiding in the shadows, so he created his secret lab without any shadows. As he stepped out of the door with his assistant, Ninyu, both wearing glowing clothes, his team was shocked, but Mayuri didn't care. He had gathered data from the previous attack and figured out that the Wandenrake were using shadows in some way. In front of the old 10th Division building, lots of shinigami are fighting the Soldat, trying to hold them back from breaking through, but Bazb sets them on fire and calls him an idiot. The Mohawk Sternritter says it's too late because the invasion is already finished, so the shinigami can't stop the bad guys from getting in anymore. He attacked the shinigami with his fire attack, but he was surprised to see that the shinigami, protected by ice, was unharmed. This is because Captain Hitsugaya, with his Lieutenant Ranjaku Matsumoto, came to save the day. Hitsugaya admitted that it was too late to stop them, but Bazb's flames won't get through. Bazb recognized Hitsugaya as the ice captain who had his Bankai stolen by Tsongdu, and Hitsugaya introduced himself. Meanwhile, Marichio Omida, the 2nd Division lieutenant, wonders where his mansion went and feels confused. His little sister, Moreo, is scared and begs him not to leave her, but he assures his sister he's leaving to protect everyone in Soul Society as a member of Godii 13. The two siblings were together when suddenly, one of the Sternritter, BG-9, crashed to the ground. Marichio remembered him as the one who stole his captain's special power. While this happened, Ranjaku told everyone to retreat and defend other areas while a fire attack comes at her. She's protected from Bazb's flames by a thin layer of ice that quickly shatters, leaving Bazb to catch a piece of it in his hand. Bazb thought the ice was weak and told Hitsugaya to give up, but Hitsugaya said winners don't beg. The Sternritter H got angry, calling the young Captain Kaki, and attacked with fire, but Hitsugaya dodged, while Ranjaku came to help and he thanked her. Ranjaku smiled and said losing his powers might have made something good. Hitsugaya was annoyed when Ranjaku called him cute for relying on her. In response, Ranjaku used her special power, Hiniko, and scattered ash in the air. She told Hitsugaya to get ready for Operation Nulfui, in which Hitsugaya argued that he didn't come up with that name. Meanwhile, Bazb thought it was just a regular ice wall and attacked it with fire, but when the flames cleared, the ice was still there, confusing Bazb. Ranjaku decided to explain how her power worked because she was feeling generous. Ranjaku shows how she separates the ash of Hiniko into many thin layers while Hitsugaya uses his special ice power to cover the layers with a thin layer of ice. He then removes the ice, leaving a space that stops heat like a thermos. When Bazz-B looks confused, Hitsugaya explains that his ice power is almost the same in his basic and advanced form, but because he lost his Bankai, he can only make less ice with his basic power. Now, he is trained to fight with less ice, and it was enough to stop Bazz-B's flames. A furious Bazz-B tries to hit them with a fireball, but they are safe behind the ice wall. Then, Hitsugaya splits the ice wall and aims his sword at Bazz-B, attacking him with a big ice blade, which pins Bazz-B to a pillar. His assistant is impressed and says that Hitsugaya showed they can fight the Quincy without using their strongest weapon. Back at the Squad 1 barracks, Hashwolf is blocked by a Kudenkepeki, a barrier created by Nanao. The clever Nanao explained the barrier could protect against all Quincy powers, and this Kido was only possible because the Quincy left traces of their powers during the previous attack. While all this was happening, Omida got hurt and thrown against a wall by some weird tentacles from BG9. BG9 then showed up with a special gun that shot Racier and started shooting at the chubby Shinigami, but suddenly realized the gun is broken. Look out! It's Captain Suifong from the 2nd Division holding the Racier bullets and parts of the gun. BG9 was surprised because Suifong had hidden her presence, also noticing her Shunko abilities. Suifong admitted that it wasn't perfect the last time they fought. BG9 was shocked that she could improve so much in such a short time, and with a big grin, Suifong released her powerful wind-like energy and attacked BG9 with a punch, sending him flying backward. Meanwhile, in another place, Askin examined Mayuri and decided not to fight him anymore because Mayuri will take too long to beat. Mayuri asks what he means, so Askin explains that killing Mayuri would require trying many different ways, but he prefers quick fights. Askin tells Mayuri to fight someone else, and as Askin tries to leave, he is surprised that Mayuri doesn't stop him. Mayuri says he needs more time to steady Askin's power and tells Askin he can go wherever he wants. This is because he figured Askin is trying to trick him into entering his territory, going further to call the Quincy scary. Suddenly, the building shakes and Mayuri realizes that Suifong is overpowering the enemy without using her Bankai. Askin reveals to them that Yuhabaha predicted the captain will try to get stronger, so this means they are prepared for whatever the Shinigami might throw at them. Meanwhile, Ranjaku sees Suifong's powerful attack and thinks she's winning the fight against her enemy. She asked if they should help other captains, but Bazz-B let them know he isn't done with them yet. Then he melted the ice around him with one hand, mocking Hitsugaya that his ice is not on the same level as his flames. Hitsugaya responded by attacking with a wave of ice. But Bazz-B uses fire to melt the ice in front of him, stating the ice will never reach him. The captain orders Ranjaku to run away while he holds back Bazz-B, but the Quincy doesn't think Hitsugaya can do anything and shoots fire at the wall, hitting Hitsugaya. Simultaneously, Suifong fights BG9 by grabbing a tendril and throwing him into a building, but couldn't believe BG9 was still alive as he appeared without his cloak, surprising her even more with how weird the Quincy looks. Suddenly, pods started coming out of his body, which alarmed Suifong. He thanked Suifong for teaching him about her Mukyu Shunko technique, but he was disappointed because he thought she had no more power to offer. He fired missiles everywhere, causing explosions, but then she jumped out of the smoke cloud. She thinks she's dodged the attack and is out of harm's way, but she gets a surprise when BG9 stabs her hand and explodes. Hashwolf watches from the office and asks Nanao if other captains can use the Kudenkepeki. Nanao says no, and Hashwolf scolds her for not sharing with the other captains, otherwise, this knowledge would have given them a fight chance. Now that's rude. While all this was happening in the air, below, Hitsugaya runs away from Bazz-B using ice to protect himself, but Bazz-B quickly breaks through. Then, Hitsugaya creates a fog to confuse Bazz-B but clears the fog, only to find Hitsugaya waiting with a surprise. Hitsugaya didn't have time to plan, but he had enough time to set a trap for Bazz-B, which he realizes too late. Despite the trap, Bazz-B quickly melts the ice and feels Hitsugaya is trying to make him use his second finger. The wounded captain tries to make another ice wall, but Bazz-B shoots fire at him, breaking his weapon and making him fall. Then Song arrives and says he'll continue the fight because they agreed to fight the captains whose Bankai they stole. In the Squad 12 lab, Mayuri noticed that two special powers were gone and recognized them as Hitsugaya and Suifong. but Mayuri realized he was the only one left who could fight without his power. Just then, Urahara called him with good news that he had found a way to bring back their Bankais. Meanwhile, Ichigo was exploring a strange, dark place. He was feeling really heavy and wondered why as he tried his best to keep going. As this was happening, Ichibei recited a poem and at the end of the poem, calls it Arazu Sando. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribe bell so you don't miss out on the epicness of the next episodes. So stick around because we got more Bleach recap videos coming your way.